What if I told you a truck driver cracked the code to building a crypto empire? Meet Bitcoin Ben. He went from driving 18-wheelers to creating 6 different ways for regular people to stack Bitcoin and build wealth. This isn't just another crypto course. This is a complete ecosystem where you earn while you learn. First up, the confidential bulk purchase program. Get Bitcoin at wholesale prices through group buying power. Then there's Home to HODL. Convert your home equity directly into Bitcoin instead of cash. Need funding? The Loans for Bitcoin program gets you the capital to buy more crypto. Want passive income? Private Key Capital puts your Bitcoin to work. Hungry for something different? Bitcoin Ben's tokenized beef lets you invest in real cattle backed by blockchain technology. And if you want to mine, Bitcoin Ben's mining program gets you started with the right equipment and knowledge. But here's the kicker. Bitcoin Ben's Crypto Club pays you to learn. Earn 10% on direct referrals, 5% on second level, 2% on third level. This might be the only membership where you make more than you pay. Ben went from 10 years behind the wheel to becoming the world's most unlikely crypto expert. Now he's sharing everything through live training, community events, and proven systems that work. Ready to stop watching from the sidelines? Join Bitcoin Ben's Crypto Club today and start stacking sats while building your financial future. Your truck driving days are over. Your crypto empire starts now.
Good morning and happy Thanksgiving to each and every one of you. Welcome to Bitcoin Thursdays with Dr. J. I'm Dr. J, and it's a beautiful, beautiful day here in Vail, Colorado. And on this Thanksgiving, I'm here with my family, enjoying some skiing and taking a couple of days off. But of course, we always work, right? So we've got a real packed session for you today. I had a lot of time to think about what we are doing and what our purpose is and what we need to be grateful for on this Thanksgiving edition. And in one word, it's freedom. Today, I want to pull back this curtain on corruption, JP Morgan's manipulation, kind of the dying gasps of the old financial empire. But before we do that, and we're going to dig deep into that today, and I'm going to unpack a lot of those pieces for you because I've been researching it. I want to begin with gratitude. I remember Thanksgiving 2020. I was in California. COVID mandates were being imposed. We were being told, mandated, forced that no more than 3 families could gather. They couldn't gather for more than 120 minutes. That was the limit on which you could sit and enjoy Thanksgiving. You couldn't pray loudly nor sing any happy songs. Of course, everyone had to have a mask. Looking back, it's completely absurd. Many of you went through it. It was real. The full ugly face of tyranny was on display. I sold my home. And I moved my family to Florida, start a new life of freedom. Freedom for my kids. Freedom that I'll fight for the rest of my life. That became my mission. That became my purpose. I'm grateful that we have this chance to give our children a better future, one that has freedom. But real gratitude comes from God, not the government. I thank Almighty for every breath I have, for the sovereignty, for the dignity of being born a free man made in his image, not some barcode on a database. I thank Florida, this last peninsula of sanity in the country that did not surrender to the tyranny of fear. I thank Bitcoin Ben and the clubs he has built, these little frontier outposts of liberty that are scattered across the nation, and we keep building more and more. Of course, I thank my family, Clara and Adrian and Emma, who hold the line with me every single day. And I, of course, want to thank President Trump because he brought us hope that common sense and traditional values matter. And he stood in the gap when that entire world was losing its mind. Tonight and today, this Thanksgiving, I want to remember what was stolen from us. the freedom to worship, the freedom of movement, the freedom to gather. And we celebrate one invention since the cross that has the power to return those freedoms to us permanently. It's Bitcoin. Let that sink in. It is the one invention that can give us all of those things. I was so lucky to meet Ben, and he and I connected, and we said, we're going to build this together as brothers. And I couldn't be more grateful that I have this opportunity to work with each one of you as CEO of Bitcoin Ben Crypto Club and Private Key Capital. We together are building something far greater than any one of us could individually do. So thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your families, wherever you are. Please say a prayer. Bless this world. Bless our families. Bless our extended Bitcoin Ben family. And let that bell of freedom always toll, because the evil guys can't stand it. We're going to delve deep into that today. You know, Nick Szabo once said that there is no precise moment that a frog realizes that the water is too hot. You know, that boiling the frog thing? Yeah. Inflation kind of works like that. Surveillance kind of works like that. Tyranny kind of works like that. One day you go to the supermarket and your turkey bill is up 22%. The next, your bank asks you why you're spending more than $600 of your own money. Later on, you find out that your credit card company has frozen your account, or your merchant processor no longer likes your politics and he has deemed you high risk, and he's shut your merchant processing down, like it happened to my wife. She's an individual artist singing patriotic songs, beautiful songs for our country. She wrote a song called MAGA Hymn. We put it up on Apple. Of course, it got shut down. We set up a separate website and got merchant processing. Nope. Square and Stripe or no one else would give us merchant processing because of the word MAGA. No alarms, no announcements, just a slow tightening of the screw, a system designed to see everything you do, control everything you do, and own everything you believe you have. And here's where Bitcoin is the opposite. See, Bitcoin does not care about the color of your skin, your politics, your zip code, what your last tweet was, whether you sang too loudly at Thanksgiving during the lockdown. It judges no one. It simply verifies one hash at a time. Bitcoin is the monetary expression of words. And those words are, you are free and you are responsible for your own freedom. This coffee is good. The cold mountain air outside, it's 23 degrees right now. We had a little fresh powder snow last night, so I got to skiing. Glorious. Freedom, fresh air. This is what life is about. Now let's talk about the high priests of the monetary empire, the old monetary empire. You've been hearing about JP Morgan, about Jamie Dimon, their CEO, and that entire Wall Street cathedral that has survived on decades of manipulation, extracting, surveilling, deceiving. Those are the words that come to mind when I think of the banking business, the way we know it. So I dug in a little bit deeper. Did you know that, and these are just facts, and I'm sure some of you already know that, Did you know that JP Morgan paid nearly $1 billion for manipulating the metals market? That's not theory. That's not rumor. That's just documented fact. That JP Morgan banked Jeffrey Epstein, the pedophile, after his conviction. They didn't accidentally keep his accounts. They kept him and all of his cronies because he was profitable. In fact, the compliance department of JP Morgan begged them to stop. But the senior executives overrode that because the money flow was perhaps too good. Civilizations don't rot from the bottom. They rot from the top. From these well-dressed executive gentlemen with a smile on CNBC that you see while wiring money for the monsters. Now, I need you to understand something very profound. The people who enabled the predator, they banked him. The same people who rigged the markets, the people who crush the small business with their credit policies, are the same people who are saying Bitcoin dangerous. Jamie Dimon says Bitcoin is a fraud, while his own bank routes orders into Bitcoin ETFs and issues crypto custody services behind the scenes. They don't fear scams. No, sir. What they fear is competition. They fear Michael Saylor. They fear MSTR. They fear all of the Bitcoin-backed companies that are thriving. Now let's look at what happened last week. Not to be glossed over. Really important you guys understand this. There was a complete and coordinated pressure campaign on MicroStrategy and ergo on Bitcoin, because MicroStrategy is the general of the Bitcoin world. You kill the general, you demoralize the troops. So let's dissect what JP Morgan actually supposedly did. And now again, I need to verify all the facts, but here's, based on what we are understanding and unpacking in the last few days, here's what we are understanding. First off, JP Morgan went and started short selling MSTR big time. They just started putting a massive amount of short selling pressure on MSTR with their huge balance sheets. That implies they're publicly exiting. Publicly, they're stating that they're exiting the MSTR exposure, reducing their exposure, sending a signal to institutions, creating a downward pressure. What does it allow them to do? It allows them to re-enter at a cheaper price, which sort of fits in with what is called strategic suppression. Well, that wasn't all that they did. Simultaneously, JP Morgan increased the margin requirements to hold MicroStrategy from 50% to 95%. So everybody who had borrowed money to go long on MicroStrategy now had to come up with 95% margin requirements. Every other stock was at 50% or lower, except MicroStrategy. JP Morgan just decided to do that. This is huge. It basically forces most of the leveraged long positions to liquidate. It directly crushes the price for MSTR. This is called weaponization. It's called weaponization of the market. You're literally crushing a stock. But wait a minute, they didn't just stop there. And I'm going to give all these pieces to you so you can start to put the puzzle pieces together yourself. Well, that wasn't it. That wasn't it also. They went forward and JP Morgan went and pushed for excluding MicroStrategy from the MSCI index. You see, like the S&P 500 index and the NASDAQ index, there's an MSCI index, which is the Morgan Stanley Corporate Index. This is a massive escalation. When you remove a stock from an index, which is what JP Morgan pushed MicroStrategy to be removed from the MSCI index, it forces index funds to sell that position. It removes passive inflows. It reduces institutional legitimacy. And of course, it harms Bitcoin adjacent companies, all on purpose. Folks, cutting back margin, increasing margin from 50 to 95%, excluding them from MSCI index, short selling MSTR, all in a coordinated manner. This is not a coincidence. It's called an attack vector. You need to start understanding how the market manipulation happens. And by the way, if you think that all of this is, oh, there's some smart guys just came up with it. Oh, no. JP Morgan has a history of manipulating Bitcoin markets. We have documented market manipulation for gold, treasuries, and metals. This has been done before, and they're doing it again because this is their playbook. It has worked for them in the past. And they believe it'll work again, but they don't know Bitcoiners. They have no idea what they're taking on. And here's the last and the smoking gun. If you really want to believe whether all this is a complete coincidence, yeah, I've got a bridge to sell you. So the smoking gun is they depress the price. They do everything to shatter investor confidence. And you know what they do right after that, 2 days later, when the price is at its lowest? They launched their own Bitcoin product. Sweet. Buy cheap, sell expensive later to customers. This is no different from the 2017 Jamie Dimon story where he called Bitcoin a fraud, crashed the price. JP Morgan bought Bitcoin ETN shares in Europe at the rock bottom. It's like kind of the arsonist who shows up holding the water hose after lighting the fire. No, sir. This is not to be applauded. This is criminal behavior. This is criminal banking hypocrisy at its worst. All right. So now that you have a reasonably good sense of what JP Morgan has been doing and why they have been doing so, let's get a little technical. Make sure you understand when you hear news articles, they shorted. What does this classic shorting? What does shorting mean? Right? Some of you, of course, know it. You're more, let's say, advanced investors. You understand how that works. But for those of you who don't, shorting is simple. You borrow a stock, sell it, hope it drops in price, buy it back cheaper, return it, whatever you borrowed, and you pocket the difference. If the stock goes up instead, your losses can be unlimited. That's called shorting. So you short the market. You basically borrow someone else's stock for a while, and then you sell it, and then you buy it back at cheaper, and so on and so forth. And then there is something called naked shorting, which is the sort of the uglier cousin of shorts. It's more of a dark art. You start to sell shares that you never borrowed. You don't even know if those shares existed. You're selling stuff that you don't own, that is not borrowed, and you don't even know if it exists. You flood the market with this phantom supply of naked shorts, which of course crushes the price. It's illegal. You're not supposed to do that. But historically, let's just say that enforcement of that naked shorting has been very selective. And I'll leave it to you in which way it has always gone from the enforcers. And then there are naked options when you're selling a call option without owning any of the underlying asset. You're selling puts without any hedging. You collect the premium, You pray the market behaves the way you believe it will behave. When executed by a big player like JP Morgan, this can strategically cap volatility, especially the upside, which means you are suppressing the stock from going up. So how are they using these tools? So I wanted to just give you a sense of some of these tools that are used in these attack vectors. When you combine these naked options with coordinated research narratives, you put margin pressure where you increase the margin requirements to 95% from 50%, and you have a market maker position, suddenly you can kneecap a Bitcoin exposed company without ever touching Bitcoin itself. When you raise the collateral requirements from 50 to 95% and watched all the leveraged longs get liquidated in real time, JP Morgan doesn't need to short Bitcoin directly. They attack the proxies. They attack the champions of Bitcoin, the public companies of Bitcoin, and collapse the sentiment by design. So this is what JP Morgan did last week. And if any one of you believe and think that all of those 3 or 4 coordinated attack vectors were complete coincidence and just happened from different desks randomly, you really need to rethink your analytical capabilities. But this corruption with JP Morgan is not isolated. And the dying empire of banking is lashing out at Bitcoin. And you need to understand something deeper, something darker, something that most Americans have never heard of, but already felt it in their accounts, in their banks, their payment processors, their businesses. It's called Operation Choke Point 3.0. Operation Choke Point 3.0. And it is, without exaggeration, the quiet financial war that is being waged on Bitcoin, freedom, and anyone else who dares to build anything outside the government-controlled banking grid. Let me give you a little historical context to understanding Operation Choke Point. Operation Choke Point 1.0 was the original blueprint for financial weaponization. It was under that, I should correct my words, it was under Obama. It was under Obama, they started something called Operation Choke Point 1.0. On paper, it looked like it was a crackdown on high-risk industries. In practice, it was simple. If the government doesn't like you, the government pressures the banks to cut off your oxygen supply. No charges, no convictions, no due process. Just a quiet directive behind closed doors, debank them. The targets: gun businesses, affiliate industries, small merchants, people who use the word Trump. I was one of them. This was 2014. I was in California. I was running a company called Ad Exchange Group. In 3.5 years, we went from 4 people to over 700 people, from 0 revenues to over $160 million in revenues, annualized revenues. The fastest growing company in the United States. We got the ABA Awards 2 years in a row for the best marketing affiliate network, right? We were selling products online. We were competing against Amazon. But most of our advertisers were small merchants. Once their merchant processing was cut off by MasterCard and Visa, the business had to die. Because when you can't collect money online because you're a high-risk business, or high risk has to pay 12% instead of 4% processing fees, you don't have a business. See? First time in American history that the government used the banking system as a weapon, not to fight crime, but to control behavior of human beings. Then came Operation Choke Point 2.0. Some of you will remember when that Sam, what was his name? Sam Bankman-Fried FTX crackdown. That was the excuse they needed. That's it. Sam Bankman-Fried. That's the one. Thank you. Thank you. Fried explodes, and suddenly the government has a new pretext to revive the old playbook. The talking points echoed through Washington corridors. Crypto is dangerous. Crypto is unstable. Crypto is a threat to the financial system. Never mind that FTX had a traditional fraud run by politically protected donors. They weaponized the collapse to justify what came next, which was the rebirth of the Choke Point program. You see, there were two companies that they did precision strikes on. One of them was called Silvergate, and you'll remember it was the most crypto-friendly bank in the United States. They were pressured to death. The second was called Signature Bank, seized on a Sunday night, not because it was insolvent, but because it was politically inconvenient. Reminds you of something we're doing, right? A little bank that we have in El Salvador, where the clause of Operation Choke Point don't extend yet. It was a master move from Ben because we are not controlled by that. We can use Bitcoin for credit that's backed by solid gold called Bitcoin. We're going to get into that. Now understand, when they seized Signature Bank, they showed up at the CEO's office on a Sunday night, locked them all up. It was simply because it was politically inconvenient. Barney Frank, the Dodd-Frank Act, himself said that Signature was shut down to send a message to the crypto industry. That was his statement, not mine. The US bank, it's a regular bank, was not closed because of risk. It was closed to show an example to the other crypto banks and the other crypto followers. And that is when we as Bitcoiners realized this was not random. This was strategy. The coordinated debanking of Bitcoin companies, the coordinated pattern of debanking Bitcoin exchanges, of debanking mining companies, of debanking companies that had lightning businesses, debanking companies that were developing wallets. Recently, Jack Mullers got thrown out of JP Morgan. Why? Even though his father had been a private bank customer for 30 years, because he's building Bitcoin ecosystem. They don't like Jack Mullers because they don't like Bitcoin, because they can't control it. Heck, we had our own problems. With our name, Bitcoin Ben Crypto Club, we go into a bank and we say we are Bitcoin Ben Crypto Club. They won't open a bank account. We had to give other names. We had to create new companies with different names so that the word Bitcoin didn't exist, so we can actually operate. This is what that choke is. This is how the control system works. See, meanwhile, the high and mighty JP Morgan happily banks Bernie Madoff, the biggest Ponzi scheme known to man, Jeffrey Epstein, the biggest pedophile ever, drug traffickers, warlords who are selling weapons, oligarchs all over the place. But they do draw a line when it comes to Bitcoin developers. The irony is surgical. Criminals get accounts, innovators get punished. This is the choke point philosophy. Now, I'll tell you where the real geniuses of this sinister genius of choke point really comes in. Now that you understand choke point, the government doesn't need to outlaw Bitcoin. They don't need to do that. They don't even need to legislate against miners or exchanges. All they have to do is manipulate what are called risk models. I'm going to go into some detail of what risk models are, because if you start to understand, you will understand why we are building what we are building, why what we are doing with our credit union is so powerful. It is so important. It is so important for our future, for all our futures, for our kids' futures. You see, what is a risk model? Let me explain the mechanics. Here's how every bank operates. Every bank operates on something called compliance scoring. AML, anti-money laundering scores. KYC, know your customer scores. Liquidity risk, what percentage do you have in deposit? Reputational risks. So there's a model, okay? Now, I have a PhD in physics, so I understand models extremely well. Here's what it works. There's this model which has all these inputs: AML, KYC, liquidity, reputational risk, etc., etc. All Washington has to do is whisper, Bitcoin is risky. Suddenly, every compliance officer with his little suitcase around the country sits on every little risk committee. Every banking algorithm goes into a defensive mode. What happens? Accounts get closed. Services get denied. Loans get rejected. Banking partners are cut off, and payment processors are frozen. All of this is done without a single law needing to be passed by Congress. Not one vote is required to shut your account, to deny you service, to reject a loan that you need to build your business, and to freeze your payment processor. This is called financial suppression, which is disguised as risk management. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is choke point 3.0. Why does the government fear Bitcoin? Why does the banking industry fear Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin is the first monetary system in human history that makes the state irrelevant, that makes the bank irrelevant. No backdoor, no blacklist, no free switches, no political override, no Federal Reserve to kill with a kill signal. Bitcoin is money without surveillance, money without permission, freedom money. That is what we are all fighting for. And we're going to win this battle, or we're going to die trying to win this battle. I know we will win it. I'm going to take a quick commercial break. Be right back with some more exciting news for you.
For years, banks promised innovation, but they gave us fees and friction and fine prints. Today, all that changes. Introducing Private Key Bank from BitcoinBens Crypto Club, the world's first Bitcoin native credit union. Rebuilt from the ground up in the heart of El Salvador, a place where your Bitcoin isn't just stored, it grows. Earn 4% interest paid in Bitcoin, compounded, secured, and accessible. No middlemen, no hidden games, just your money working for you. Send funds across borders instantly, without SWIFT codes, without currency conversions. Pay anyone, anywhere, with a tap of a finger. This isn't banking as usual. This is freedom, beautifully engineered. The future of finance is finally here.
Bitcoin, money that cannot be weaponized by politicians, nor by agencies, nor by intelligence surveillance mechanisms. See, surveillance money is CBDCs, banking rails, SWIFT systems, credit scores, AML flags. This only works when citizens are unarmed, just like the Second Amendment. Bitcoin arms us as citizens. It arms us as citizens. It's a beautiful weapon that gives us freedom. And that's why choke point exists, not because Bitcoin is dangerous, but because Bitcoin makes them powerless. So in this context of choke point 3.0 that you now understand, you look back at what JP Morgan did through this fresh lens. They sold MSTR shares, naked shorts. They raised the margin requirements from 50 to 95%. They pushed for strategy to be excluded from the MSCI index. They called through their technical papers and white papers and investment papers for a Bitcoin price collapse. And then they launched their own Bitcoin-backed bond 2 days later. This isn't isolated. It's not random. It's exactly what choke point strategy looks like when executed by the private arm of the state, the mega banks. Governments don't need to kill Bitcoin. They just need to make the life impossible for people who are building it. Operation Choke Point, which I think Cynthia Lummis called out in one of her recent tweets. I think she mentioned this Operation Choke Point. It was never about safety. It was never about risk. And it was really never about protecting consumers. It was and is the very last ditch effort by a surveillance-based monetary system to crush the technology, the one technology that can free the world. But here's the little twist that they didn't see coming. See, Bitcoiners can be choked. You can shut banks. You can shut accounts. You can seize servers. You can raid corporations. But you cannot stop a global swarm of sovereign individuals running code, generating energy across 200 different countries without permission. Bitcoin ends choke point 3.0. And now you come to the real reason why they're terrified. The truth they hope you will never understand. Bitcoin is energy, and energy is freedom. And freedom is the one thing that the old world cannot allow. See, when we go out and mine Bitcoin, we tap into all forms of energy: gas, solar, hydro, wind, nuclear, you name it. It's pure, it's borderless, it's unstoppable. The country that masters energy-backed Bitcoin is going to become the next empire. I certainly hope and pray that President Trump, with the initiatives from some of the key senators who we are backing, by the way, Senator Blackburn out of Tennessee, we're going to do a fundraiser for her. She has been a strong proponent. Our own Byron Donalds in Florida, he's been a strong proponent. In fact, many state level, right in Nashville, John Deaton, he's running against, for the Senate race next year. He's a big Bitcoin proponent. And we're supporting these guys. We as Bitcoin Ben Crypto Club, as Private Key Capital, we're supporting at the state level. We're not waiting for just the federal government to come and save Bitcoin. We want states to become sovereign. As I've always said, there'll be two kinds of states in the next couple of years: the free states and the slave states. The free states will adopt Bitcoin. The slave states will remain with Jamie Dimon. And the battle lines have been drawn. The battle is already here. See, they cannot command and control the energy. Money conversion layer is energy. Now, what are we building? We're building mining operations in Texas to Alabama to El Salvador. We're converting gas into Bitcoin mining sites. We're creating distributed networks where Bitcoin is being mined. And now we have this bank in El Salvador, which takes that Bitcoin as our treasury, and we can do digital credit. The difference between normal credit and digital credit is huge. See, digital credit, Bitcoin-backed credit, is not synthetic exposure. It's not paper exposure. You're being given credit against a real asset. The old world of credit is an Excel spreadsheet. I can just give you whatever money you need. I just put it down on a ledger. It doesn't exist. It's not real. That's what that old banking system is based on. What we are building is the architecture of the next civilization. While the old Jamie Dimon's civilization is rotting from the inside. What you are seeing through these coordinated vector attacks is the death now, is the dying of an old animal that controls the dollars, but the dollars are dying. Whoever controls Bitcoin energy will control the future. It's as simple as that, folks. Bitcoin is energy. It costs us $48,000 of real money, of energy bills, of land leases, of machines, of hash power, compute power, crystallized, transportable, programmable energy. And this energy conversion and this energy stored in Bitcoin is the foundation of sovereignty. Every single empire in the past was built on energy. Whether it was wood for fire, whether it was coal empires, steel, oil, the Middle East, nuclear energy, every single major empire has been built on energy. Now we can capture that energy and convert it directly into monetary value, and that mechanism is Bitcoin. Bitcoin mining. When you own the energy, you own the money. And when you own the money, you own your future, your freedom. I told you today my theme was going to be freedom. On this Thanksgiving, we are grateful for the freedom from God, the freedom that this energy, this Bitcoin gives us. That is why China banned mining, right? Why did China ban mining? Because it's freedom, and China is completely opposed to freedom. Why do you think IMF threatened El Salvador to not buy Bitcoin? Because IMF is threatened by freedom. Why do you think the World Bank is terrified of cheap nuclear energy? Because cheap nuclear energy can be used to mine Bitcoin. Bitcoin turns every single watt of energy, every flare, every gas, every stranded, every microreactor into monetary independence, into monetary freedom. And that independence is incompatible with the views of JP Morgan, of the views of the United Nations, of the views of that Christina Lagarde at the ECB. Every bureaucrat dreams of programmable money and social credit scores. True freedom is owning your own future. Look, folks, we are so blessed to be born when we are. We are alive. We are alive here right now. We are living through the final battle of the two worlds. The old world of surveillance money, of legacy banks, of compromised elites, of pedophiles, of Epstein-era morality, and governments that treat their citizens like liabilities. And then there's the new world. Open source money, sovereign individuals, energy-backed freedom and a future where no senator, no banker, no globalist committee, no risk management committee can freeze your life savings with an email. This is not politics. This is not economics. This is spiritual warfare being fought in cyberspace. This is spiritual warfare that is being fought on the energy grids. And damn, I've got proposals right now for energy grids that I'm looking at. We are going to own our own energy generation. It's coming because that is freedom. This is spiritual warfare for the balance sheets. So tonight, folks, as we celebrate Thanksgiving evening with our family, with our friends, I call on each one of you, every single one of you, to please choose a side. Not later, not someday, not I'll sit on the fence and watch, but right now. Exit the banks that funded these monsters. If you have a JP Morgan account, shut it. Leave it. Walk away from it. Because these monsters support some of the worst things in the world. Human trafficking, arms races, organ stealing, pedophilia. Exit the system that has lied to you time and time again. Exit the currency that they weaponize against your family. This is our opportunity as Bitcoin Ben Club members to step into a parallel economy, to step into an energy renaissance. We have at our disposal the only monetary network in human history that treats everyone, rich or poor, equally. You're all equal in front of that code. And I can assure you, if Bitcoin wins, humanity will win. And if it doesn't, we will fight like our ancestors at Valley Forge until the freedom bell rings again. The storm is not coming anymore. The storm is here. We are born for this moment. We have to fight. We have to make sure that Bitcoin wins this battle. This is JP Morgan against Michael Saylor, Diamond against Saylor. You got to pick a side and see through what these guys are doing. Understand the battle landscape. Understand the tools that are being used in this battle. And we're going to beat them because we will start to own energy. We're going to move towards privatization of energy, privatization of mining. Millions and millions of Bitcoin nodes will continue to grow. Hash rates will continue to go up. We're already above zeta hashes. And as that happens, the enemy will not be able to suppress it. Bitcoin's already above 91,000. It'll continue to go up. This suppression is not going to work. Their lies are exposed. The storm is here. We are born for it. Have a blessed Thanksgiving. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for taking the time on this sacred day, this beautiful day, to listen to me so that I could share my thoughts with you. God bless you. God bless America. Have a magical day.
What if I told you a truck driver cracked the code to building a crypto empire? Meet Bitcoin Ben. He went from driving 18-wheelers to creating 6 different ways for regular people to stack Bitcoin and build wealth. This isn't just another crypto course. This is a complete ecosystem where you earn while you learn. First up, the confidential bulk purchase program. Get Bitcoin at wholesale prices through group buying power. Then there's Home to HODL. Convert your home equity directly into Bitcoin instead of cash. Need funding? The Loans for Bitcoin program gets you the capital to buy more crypto. Want passive income? Private Key Capital puts your Bitcoin to work. Hungry for something different? Bitcoin Ben's tokenized beef lets you invest in real cattle backed by blockchain technology. And if you want to mine, Bitcoin Ben's mining program gets you started with the right equipment and knowledge. But here's the kicker. Bitcoin Ben's Crypto Club pays you to learn. Earn 10% on direct referrals, 5% on second level, 2% on third level. This might be the only membership where you make more than you pay. Ben went from 10 years behind the wheel to becoming the world's most unlikely crypto expert. Now he's sharing everything through live training, community events, and proven systems that work. Ready to stop watching from the sidelines? Join Bitcoin Ben's Crypto Club today and start stacking sats while building your financial future. Your truck driving days are over. Your crypto empire starts now.